So, Berto and Colin, do you know what the Bechdel test is? What is the Bechdel test, Berto? What do you think?
If a movie or maybe just a story does a female character appropriately, or if it's, like if the female character is used sort of like as a throwaway character, or it's just like a romantic interest, or that. So there's a whole bunch of questions of like, does the movie do this? Does the movie do that? And the fact is most movies don't actually use female characters in a useful, meaningful way.
Colin, is that your understanding?
Yeah, my understanding was more specific than that. I thought it was two female characters had to discuss something other than men. Am I correct or incorrect?
Well, we'll get into that in a second, but first let's introduce the podcast. This is the Psychology in Seattle podcast. I am Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor, and this podcast does not pass the Bechdel test.
My name is Humberto and I'm a cuckoo clock tamer.
I am Colin Miller. I live in Dallas, and I work for the Gay Men's Mindfulness Collective.
The Bechdel test. So this is a measure, as you were saying, of the representation of women in fiction, and it doesn't have to be just in film. I thought it was just in film, but it isn't. It's in fiction as well, written fiction and other things. Named after the American cartoonist Alison Bechdel. And the criteria are at least two women who talk to each other about something other than a man, and the two women must have a name in the story. And when I first heard about the Bechdel test, I don't know, what was it, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, I started rolling through movies and I thought, nope, that doesn't pass the Bechdel. Because when you say the criteria, it sounds ridiculous. To have two women who talk to each other, you're like, why is that so exotic? About something other than a man. You're like, well, of course. There's so many other things to talk about. Colin, what percentage of movies, when they did a review, actually passed the Bechdel test?
I'm guessing 35%.
Berto, what do you think?
Oh, man. Well, there's a lot of movies. So I'm going to go 20%.
Actually, I read somewhere it was 50%, which I find to be extremely high. I wonder what the methods were. I would, in terms of anecdote, in terms of big movies, popular movies, right? Does Star Wars pass the Bechdel test?
Yeah.
Princess Leia.
No, I don't think so.
Well, Princess Leia talks to Mon Mothma.
She doesn't.
Yeah.
Give me the scene where she does that.
It's in the outtakes.
Okay. The cutting room floor passes the Bechdel test.
So there are other tests that have come out along the theme. The Vito Russo test, created by GLAAD, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation. And the criteria are, does the film contain a character that is identifiably LGBT, not solely or predominantly defined by their sexual orientation or gender identity, and tied into the plot in such a way that their removal would have a significant effect? So this is an interesting test, and it illuminates the tropes and the lack of representation. That one, just having an LGBT character. Two, if they are included, it's usually like it's because they're gay, right? It's not just because they're a human being or because they're trans. Are they actually tied to the plot in a way that removing them would actually change the story quite a bit, Are they just a throwaway friend, for example, right?
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's great. I would have to say that as a lover of film and a gay man myself, I have to wonder about how these important conversations in production studios relate to some of the negative conversations that also occur about who gets to play what parts, what stories get, put onto the screen, what stories get funding. And I did a little research for a writing project not too long ago on Saving Face. And it's a really lovely romantic comedy about, two, well, I don't remember if there are particular identifiers because LGBT, as we know, is a spectrum, but two Asian American women enter a relationship. And they, in the production, history, if you look up that film, there were a lot of conversations about, well, how can we soften this? People aren't really ready for it. I mean, it came out in, I think, 2004. And for me, the early 2000s feel like light years away in terms of what we were seeing on screen. I think there have been leaps and bounds, but they were like, oh, should we make do they even like it would be like a descending conversation as I understand it. Like, does she have to be gay? Can't we have her in a heteronormative relationship with another Asian male? And then when she would say absolutely not, they would say, well, okay, if she has to be a lesbian, can we have her with like a very like traditionally beautiful white girl like on screen, like a one that's recognizable for people, like maybe like a Scarlett Johansson, which I found kind of humorous because Scarlett Johansson's gotten a little flack for thinking she can play anything and blah blah blah. That's a whole other thing, but yeah, so I find myself wondering where the line is, because at the end of the day, I don't want writers to feel pressured to put LGBTQ characters in film. I think it's more of a systematic thing where we just need to kind of restructure everything so that more LGBTQ writers have more outlets for their stories, so that everyone kind of, has equal, I guess you could say, time on the playground. So,
yeah, what's your thoughts on that, Berto, in terms of quotas?
Well, so this goes to something that I brought up now twice in two different podcasts, and at least the first time I got a lot of flack in the comments, but I'll just restate it again. I wish we would get to the point where that conversation where they were saying, does it have to be this, that, or the other thing? That wasn't even a question. And I don't mean because like, well, of course it has to be, but it'd be like, no one would bring it up because it's like, this is just a character. The same way that it's like, hey, I noticed you said the character's wearing jeans. Do they have to wear jeans? It's like, no one would ask that. It's like, some people wear jeans, people wear pants. And now sometimes wearing jeans is important to the story. Like, what is that? The traveling pants or something, whatever. Anyways, sometimes it might be like, no, of course, Philadelphia, they have to be, there has to be, this story was about literally a gay couple that then one of them catches AIDS and this, fine. I get it. But so my take is, with anything like work, movies and stuff, you might need to force the system a bit to kickstart the engine. And this is a big debate. When I was in school, I remember there was a lot of folk that were upset that some companies would offer more internships to people of color. And I understood. I mean, I was like, yeah, that would be frustrating if you're not. I had a friend who was white and they were frustrated. It's like, why do they? And I get it. At the same time, it's like you're trying to steer a ship that has been headed in one direction for millennia, and you're trying to just like, can we just course correct just slightly? And it takes a lot. And so sometimes you have to use heavy-handed techniques to try to course correct.
Yeah, the issue to me is not about shoehorning in particular diverse, quote unquote, cast members into a story. It's about, if you're going to tell a story that probably should include diversity, to not have it is a clear indication that you either don't care or are ignorant or just flat out racist or don't even understand the market. There's a huge market for Black people, Asian people, women to watch movies. So one, if you're going to tell a story that should include diversity, to not have it is a problem. And then two, as a studio decides to greenlight movies, right, if they tend to always be centered around white issues and men issues and a narrow set of mainstream identity issues, straight issues, then that's a problem. So the problem is two levels. One, what movies get decided to be greenlit, right? And then two, when you are working on a script that probably should have diversity and you don't have diversity. So we're not talking about like, let's redo The Godfather and include a bunch of Asian Americans, because it's a movie about mobsters. It's not about quotas of any movie. So I was obsessing on this. I was like, okay, there's got to be like an Asian Dell test is what I wanted to call it. Instead of the Bechdel test, I want to call it the Asian Dell test. And I'll go through my criteria in a second. But I wanted, because I'm getting so tired of watching movies that should have Asian Americans in it and they don't. And I'm not looking towards just any movies. I'm looking mainly to movies that take place in Los Angeles or Seattle or something, or Vancouver, Canada, where there should be at least a couple Asians, at least in the background. I was watching The Descendants, which takes place in Hawaii, in Kauai, right? With George Clooney. And you'd be hard to find a single Asian American, even in the background. And on Hawaii, it is literally half Asians. Not even in the extras are they included very much. So that's what we're going to do today. And I asked Berto to come up with the Berto-Dell test, which I think is going to have to do with Colombia. And I asked Collin to do, what are you calling your test, Collin?
The Gerardal test, that's my middle name, and I felt like the word play because it's, got the B, the D energy.
So, and we're going to review a few movies, popular movies, and put them to each of our tests. And that's what we're going to do today. So let's get into it. Berto, what are your criteria for your test?
All right. Do you want me to list all of mine, or are we going to kind of like trade?
All your criteria, and then we'll go into the movies later. So
first off, does it use actual Latinos playing Latino roles? That's the first criteria.
Right.
So no West Side Story. Okay.
I'm just, that might be on my list. Number 2, is the Latin person or people, are they primary characters or are they just background?
Okay.
Now, again, like you said, this isn't like every movie needs to be like this. I'm just saying, let's you kind of like score all these things, right? Number 3, is their race/origin relevant or irrelevant to the story? And my bias is I want to see more stories where it's actually not relevant, it's irrelevant. For example, and I know that this one actually doesn't do as great by the Asian standard, but the Cobra Kai series, like one of the main kids is Latino. And it doesn't matter. Like it's not, the story doesn't revolve about him being Latin. It's just like, hey, he's a Latino. Right. But that's irrelevant. I love that. Okay. Number 4, do they have an accent?
Yep.
Number 5. And by the way, my mom has an accent. Lots of people have accent stuff. It's just that when everyone always has to have a thick, Mexican accent to show that they're Latinos.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Number 6. Are they a mariachi or do they wear mariachi clothing? This shows up all over the place. Number 7, are they a drug dealer? Number 8, is the movie about the Day of the Dead, El Día de los Muertos?
Coco!
Look, I love Coco. Give me a couple movies. I love it. But you'll find that a lot of times it's like Dia de los Muertos. It's all over cartoons. It's all over movies. Fine. I get it. Can we have a few movies about other topics? Number 9, are they super poor? And look, I have nothing against poor people or rich people. It's just the next one, number 10, is are they super rich? Because like a lot of times what I see is they're the destitute, and which is a reality. There's a lot of destitute Latinos, and then that's a reality. But that seems to be that's the Latino in the movie, or the playboy, ultra jet setting, open shirted millionaire Latino, and that seems to be and I want some of the in between. Yeah. Number 11,
just a regular guy, just a regular woman, just
regular. Number 11, which is related, do they wear outrageous clothing? Open shirt. Slightly related. It seems to be a trope. Like a lot of times the outrageous Latino friend is also gay. Like it's the gay, outrageous Latino guy with the open shirt. Right. And then they put that in the show or movie. And it's like, okay, there we go.
I would call that maybe there's probably a word for it, but I guess what I'd call it would be like the token egg basket or something. Like they're throwing all their token in one basket.
We only have one slot. Yeah. What can we do? Well, how many can we hit? Yeah. Number 12, are they specifically a Mexican person in real life playing a different nationality of Latinos?
Like Narcos.
Yeah, like Narcos. And actually Narcos, the main guy is Brazilian, but still.
Yeah.
And number 13, are they the comic relief?
Okay. Yeah. So you're hitting on all the tropes. Usually.
Yes.
Like,
so I guess it's the opposite. It's like, don't do
the tropes. Yeah.
Yeah, don't do the tropes.
Okay, Colin, what are your criteria?
Well, just like I'm gonna take 5 seconds to like sort of talk about something I said earlier. I also, because after hearing Humberto say that he's not suggesting all movies should be like this, that's really what I was trying to say. I'm not suggesting that this needs to be applied to every movie. And also what I meant by like traditional beauty, I meant on screen, because if you look at old movies, all the like romance interest people, they were all white. So it still prevails. We're still like more shocked to see like the romance be somebody who's not white. So that's what I was talking about there. Now to my test, the Gerardal test. After listening to Berto's, of course, I love to write. And as my friend lovingly told me today, you really love the sound of your own voice. So there's a little more here. But I only have 10 rules. So let me just knock through them. Number 1, if a coming out moment is featured, then it is handled with substantial, tangible integrity.
Okay.
I couldn't say that they can't come out because that's a big thing for gays. So it has a right to be on screen.
Okay.
Number 2, the most important gay character could be described in at least 10 other ways that have nothing to do with their sexuality.
Okay.
So there,
I like that.
I was reminded of the Red Letter Media sketch on the first, I think you know what I'm talking about, where they were trying to come up with descriptors for the Phantom Menace characters, and they really couldn't because they're so underwritten.
That's a great one.
So that was the inspiration for my number 2.
How do you describe this character? Well, they're gay.
Yes.
I mean, they're in the movie.
They're sassy.
They're sassy.
They kind of sound weird, you know? Like,
Yeah.
all right.
That whole like gay thing because they're gay.
Yeah, gay. Doesn't that describe the entire personality and motivations of the entire character? What more do you need to know?
Yes, that's when people ask me like about Kirk or Berto, I say, well, you know, they're straight, and then I can't think of anything else.
Exactly. It's like, oh, no way. Tell me more.
So my number 3 is, if a heteronormative character is offended, confused, dismissive, sickened, etc., by the gay character, I guess any gay character, then that gay character does not adjust or soften the blow as a way of affirming a narrative of the safe homosexual.
Oh yeah. Well, I know what movie I won't spoil it, but I know exactly. I actually rewatched this movie with Stacy recently.
My number 4, the gay element is not the central conflict. Like,
Okay.
I am gay and that's a problem. And that's my only problem in this movie, in my life of all time. Number 5, if a death is involved, look, people die. I'm not here to say you can't kill your gay characters, but if a death is involved, then it is a crucial part of the narrative, and it isn't an artistic punishment.
For being gay.
Right.
Right.
Because you're right, because not all gay characters on screen should be nor are altruistic. So
Right.
nice save. Number 6, and this is also death related, but I felt like it needed its own number. If AIDS is involved, then it is a crucial part of the narrative, and it also isn't a punishment for being gay.
Right.
I was tempted to put like, they can't die of AIDS, but again, I felt like I couldn't nullify that story. Number 7, 2 gay people talk about something in a unique way that is representative of their communication outside of being gay. So this is sort of the like most Bechdel-y one, I guess.
Right.
Number 8, there exists some subversion in the narrative that makes it unique. Now, when I read these to my friend, the same one who said I love the sound of my own voice, she said she didn't know what that meant. But I was referencing beginners because I think it's easy to like, this is what I meant by it. And we can take this number off if it doesn't end up staying in the cut. But like, I was watching Beginners, and that's one of the movies that I have down for one that passes it. And there was a subversion of the narrative. We're used to seeing the dad with the son who has to come out to him. But it was the reverse. The dad had to come out to the son. And that was like a refreshing new narrative. So some kind of newness. And because I think there's a lot of nuance to being queer, even though, as a disclaimer, as a gay man myself, I made this only for cis gay men. So I hope that lesbians, trans, bi, I hope they get their own lists. So, number 9. The sexuality of a gay person is not othered for the purpose of serving a narrative that others it.
Right.
And I love a movie that does this, Basic Instinct. But her bisexuality is only to be like, wow, bisexuality is scary.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
10.
There's so many movies like that where
Yeah.
essentially the bisexual or the gay person is the villain. And a part of their villainy and their otherness is that they're not straight, and it's scary. And yeah.
Queen's Gambit.
When did that happen? Sorry,
Well,
I didn't mean to squeak.
her friend, quote unquote, who's like trying to get her to be irresponsible and drink when she didn't want to stay out. She didn't want to drink, and she's going to miss the big game the next morning. Oh, and they sleep together because that's what irresponsible, bad people get you to do.
Yeah.
All right. The final number, 10. If a gay person helps an ally on their own journey, that relationship is substantial for both parties. I think it's totally cool for people of all orientations to help all people of orientations, whatever. We should all be friends. However, there's a lot of African-American people listening can probably relate to this. There's like the mystical queer, as there is the mystical black person, who exist in a story only to save the white person.
Right.
And has no life outside of that. Kind of the gay best friend thing.
Right.
So yeah, that's it.
The same movie I'm thinking about is has that element as well. Yeah, I like it. So for my test, I actually went a different direction and decided to do grades A, B, C, D, F.
Ooh.
Because I wanted a gradation for my test. So
very professor of you.
Some considerations I've been talking about is that I consider the demographics of the time, the place, and the plot. For example, if a movie is set in rural Kansas, there might not be many Asian American characters. That's fine. Movie about the Italian mob, maybe no Asian Americans. But if you have a movie that takes place in current Los Angeles high school, then there better be some effing Asians in it. And what am I characterizing as Asians? Well, it's kind of complicated, right? Because we're talking about literally half the planet's population are considered Asian in America. I mean, we have this category in the United States where you just say Asian, and something like, how many billions? We got 7.5 billion people on the planet. Something like 4 billion people on the planet are considered Asian by American standards. So what does that even mean? You're essentially saying, yeah, I'm from 60% of the Earth. I'm from Earth. You know, like if an alien randomly ran into a Earthling, 60% of the time it's going to be a quote unquote Asian person. You know what I mean? And that doesn't even include Asians in like Afghanistan, and I'm talking about just India, China, Japan, Indonesia, you know, anyway. But what I'm including is what I consider to be my cultural, sort of pocket, which are East Asians, Southeast Asians, and Pacific Islanders. So East Asians like Japanese Americans, Korean Americans, Chinese Americans, Southeast Asians like Vietnam Americans, Indonesian Americans, Filipino Americans, and Pacific Islanders like Samoan Americans, Hawaiian Americans. Now, I know that there's some problems with that, but I don't know. I grew up with that designation, and that's I'm sticking with it for this one. And I guess the way that I kind of gauge it is that when I see a Samoan American in a movie, I get excited. I'm like, oh, when I see a Vietnamese American or a Filipino American, I think, even though I'm Japanese American, I feel like they are of my people, even though in that part of the world, they're as different from each other than we are to them. You know, Japanese people don't see a Filipino and say, oh, you are of my people. They don't see that at all. But in America, the way that I relate to Filipino Americans is very similar to the way I would relate to other Japanese Americans. Not exactly, but that's just my experience. And of course, other people have other experiences. But now my grades are going from, A to F, and A, I give if one of the top 3 characters that are listed in the cast list is a Asian Pacific Islander and no accent and noticeably Asian American. because there's a lot of people who are like quarter or even half, and you can't tell. And when you walk around in the United States, you can tell the Asian Americans look Asian American, right? So they need to have no accent like me and all my people, and they have to be noticeably Asian American. B is one in the top 3, sorry, with no accent, but not noticeably Asian American, which I'll get to later. C is top 10, no accent, noticeably Asian American. D is top 20, no accent, noticeably Asian American. And F is no Asian American cast member without an accent. So you could have, all sorts of Asian American or Asian characters with accents. Often, actually, they're Asian American actors that don't have accents cast to have them have an accent, like Mr. Miyagi, which I actually enjoy, but that doesn't pass this test. And exceptions are made for other non-white characters, which I'll get into in a second. So the reason why I had it this way instead of the way y'all and Bechdel did their test is that to expect an American film to have 2 Asian Americans talking and to not have at least some of the tropes, I find to be too tall of an order. To
a bridge too far.
Yeah. So it's like I gauge it on what I'm happy about. It's like if I just see like a top 10 actor in a movie or a TV show that is Asian American noticeably and doesn't have an accent, I vocally scream and my wife registers it every time it happens. So that's my test. Okay, so I'm gonna go into my first movie and then we'll go around the horn. What do you say?
That sounds great.
After the break, let's do it. What do you say?
Now I say that's great.
Gotta go get my rainbow on.
All right, we're back from the break. So, Berto, if someone was both trying to get a movie that passes your test, what's your test called again, Berto?
Mine is the Berdodel.
So if you were trying to, you were doing a pitch for a Berdodel movie, a movie that passes the Berdodel test, and you were trying to get them to become a patron of the podcast, what would that pitch sound like?
All right, hear this out. I got a fantastic movie idea. So this ragtag band of outrageous people that are friends and they've been through hell and back. They are now down and out on their luck in central Chicago and / Toronto. And they're like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We have no money. We have to have a startup. And then one of them starts going sort of like nuts. Like, oh my God, I can't handle reality. And so the others are like, oh my gosh, you know what? I think we all need to like sit down and listen to a podcast together. But then they all vote on it and they're like, but there's so many options. What should we listen to? And then the guy, the one going sort of like nuts. So it's like, I can't listen to anything. They all make me insane. And then someone's like, hey, calm down. There's one where there's this guy that all he does is yells out crazy, wacky characters at the intermission of the podcast. It'll make you feel relatable. And so they listened to Psychology in Seattle. And as they were listening, they thought, oh my gosh, we should support this thing. And they all became patrons. And by doing so, a fairy godmother descended and turned them all into Colombians. The end.
Wait. Sir, when does the mariachi band enter the picture?
Well, I need to get this thing sold. Right. So like where they were at first gathering at the park, there was a mariachi band playing right there. And it was the Day of the Dead. And actually, one of the guys comes up and says, hey, I'm a drug dealer. Do you have any money for me? And it's really great. You'll love it.
Okay, sold. Greenlit. So, Collin, you have an announcement to make.
I do, yes. So first off, I just wanted to say that I love Psychology in Seattle, and it's been a wonderful experience. And I'm going, hopefully, to continue returning as a guest on the podcast here and there. Yeah. But in terms of being a social media ambassador, I have chosen to let that responsibility go because I'm going to pursue my work more with the Gay Men's Mindfulness Collective. And to kind of wrap that up, I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you to Kirk for the opportunity. Thank you to Berto for being an amazing co-host. Thank you to all of the people on Discord who are Piss Guardians. If you want to know more about that, go to the Discord. And for all of the admin on the Psychology in Seattle fan page, and for the people on Reddit who are keeping the content coming, you're all doing an amazing job. And I look forward to continuing to explore with you in chats and conversations and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm really happy for you, Collin, and as your career progresses in all the various pursuits that you're doing. Just to clarify, you're still going to be a part of the community, if you will, right, Collin?
Yeah, totally.
And you'll be on the podcast, which a lot of people, that's all that they know you from it. Because, I think most people don't even use our social media platforms. You know what I mean? The people who do definitely know you, right?
Yeah.
In the short time that Collin was working for us, he just did fantastic, so much work. In some ways, it's almost kind of running on its own now because he was so good at it, so much that the rest of us could just kind of let a lot of it just coast now because it's going so well. So thank you so much, Collin, for all that you did. We had a lot of conversations behind the scenes about how to create community, and you just were a master at it. So thanks a lot, Collin.
Thank you, Collin. And best of luck with that, man. When are you already engaged with that, or when does it start?
I've been working with them for quite some time. I think the community is just growing and the jobs, they're piling up, man.
Is there a link? What do we do? How do I?
Well, if you identify as a gay man,
is there a way to support the cause or
Yeah,
join
totally.
The voice,
if you have interest in supporting, so Brian Falduto, who was a guest on the podcast before, he actually is kind of he's not kind of, he's 100% the daddy of this whole enterprise. He has a podcast called the Gay Life Coaster Podcast. Go listen to that. But if you're interested in supporting, he has an email, which I'll drop here with my vocal cords. It's Brian Falduto at brianfelduto.com, and he has a website, brianfelduto.com, and he can tell you how to support it.
Felduto.
Yes, I know, it's a beautiful romantic name.
Felduto.
I love typing it into my my email every day.
Okay, so so I thought I need to limit my movie search because there's so many movies, right? So I thought, well, if we look at the United States, so, if I look at French movies, for example, or movies that take place in France, that's a harder thing there are plenty of Asian French people, but I'm not familiar with that so much. So I relegated to Americans, and I thought, well, how many East and Southeast Pacific Islander Asian Americans are there? So let's try to get a percentage, because if it's 1% of the population, then we shouldn't see that many characters. But when we look at it, Collin, what percentage of the total American population are East, Southeast Asian, full and mixed? What do you say, Collin?
I'm going to go with 45.
45% of Americans are Asian Americans?
I'm not good with percentages. I didn't want to undersell it, but I wanted to give a thirsty good number because I want those people to feel seen.
Berto, what percentage would you say? Let's just say it's less than 45%.
Yeah, I'll go 15%.
It's 7%. So
okay,
7% of total American population. So, it's not a lot, but it's sizable.
Pretty close to 45.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah. I mean, everyone comes from Asia in some ways.
But then you say, well, a lot of those are immigrants, so some of those are going to have accents. Well, back of the napkin, conservative, about 5% of the U.S. population are Asian American without accent, like myself, like my parent, like my dad, like my grandparents. About 5%. So 1 in 20 American citizens are Asian American looking and do not have an accent. And then we look at different cities. So, Berto, what American city has the most Asian Americans?
San Francisco.
Collin, you get another guess. This city actually has 44% Asian Americans that live in the city.
Gone in Hawaii. Damn it! So dumb.
I mean, that's not where I'm going. I'm probably going to get this wrong too. New York?
Berto, Guess again. That's not a bad guess, by the way.
Honolulu.
Yeah, Honolulu is 44%
Of course.
American city.
But that's so. This goes to your point. I don't even like. I see so many things about Hawaii that are not Asian, so then I forgot.
Right. Honolulu is filthy with my people, just filthy. And San Francisco, number 2, did you say San Francisco, Roberto?
I did. That was my first guess.
It's 23%. LA is 15%. Sacramento, 12%. Seattle, Tacoma Metropolitan, 11%. New York is 10%. So it was a pretty good guess there, Colin. And Baltimore, not 45.
Right.
San Diego's
Rule
11.
of 3. That joke is dead. Okay.
No, let's just keep rolling it out. Baltimore, Washington, 9%. Greater Houston, 7%. Then we got Boston, Chicago, Dallas, and Philadelphia.
Hey, Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas is top 12 or something. And it's hilarious. And I'm an Asian American, so I could say this. When I hear an Asian American with a Southern accent, I just find it to be the funniest, the funniest sound. There's this Asian American Southern comic from the 90s that I just thought, and he had a lot of jokes about it. He's like, yep, this is not the accent you thought you're going to hear. So, it's pretty funny.
There's a character like that. I think we talked about him in Palm Springs. He's not a main character, but
right.
He's like a cowboy Asian.
Oh, yeah,
and people
that's
forget
true.
there's a great YouTube channel called The Try Guys, and there's just 4 dudes that try things, hence the name. And one of them, Eugene, he's Korean and he's from Texas.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Dude, I want to watch that movie again. You just reminded me how much I liked it.
Now, since not a lot of movies take place in Honolulu, San Francisco, yeah, but LA, I mean, every TV show, half of TV shows, half of movies take place in LA because of convenience. And so I decided I would look at movies that take place in the LA area. So in the LA area, we're looking at 15% Asian American. That's a lot of Asian Americans.
Wow.
And back of the napkin, 12% of Los Angelinos do not have an accent as Asian Americans. So we're talking like 1 in 8 human beings who live in the greater Los Angeles area are noticeably Asian American with no accent, meaning they were born or their grandparents or their great-grandparents were born in the United States. So my first movie is a movie that I love, that is Booksmart from 2019. Ooh. I think I gave this like a 10 out of 10, or maybe a 9 out of 10. I think this movie is just of its form, of movies that take place on the final night of high school. This is just a superb movie that's funny and touching and interesting and random. And the characters, I mean, there's some slow moments, but I just really liked it. I really love the relationship.
Female directed too. I think Olivia Wilde.
Yep, 100% Olivia Wilde. So now, to be even more specific, not only in Los Angeles, but it takes place at a public high school, and there's a large cast, and it is a ensemble cast. There's the 2 main characters, but there's a lot of secondary characters. So this isn't like 2 girls go up to the cabin together by themselves. We're talking like a whole high school is graduating. There's a huge party that they go to with, dozens of other kids. So, and I also looked at, because people might say, it's sort of a white private school or something. Nope. It takes place at a public school, and they film it at San Fernando High School. And I looked at the website earlier today. There isn't a single white person in the entirety of the website. Among the teachers, among the student body, it seems like maybe 60% Latinx, and you throw in some Asians in there as well, and some Black people, and there's like 1 lonely white person in the back. So that's what.
Oh, sorry. One quick question. I'm sorry to be ignorant. What does Latinx actually stand for?
So how y'all down south of the border will genderize every word, right?
Oh, yeah.
And Latino.
Oh, so instead of saying Latinos and Latinas, you say Latinx.
Right, because originally people would say Latino, and then women are like, I'm not Latino, I'm Latina. The same is with, Filipina and Filipino.
Okay.
It's also filmed in Glendale and Pasadena, and you think, Glendale and Pasadena, there's a lot of white people. Nope. Glendale, 16% Asian, 17% Latinx. Pasadena, 14% Asian, 34% Latinx, a third. So we're talking about a huge, and then 11% Black. So we're talking about like white people are one of the minorities in Pasadena. So you should expect this cast should just be sick with Latinx, blacks, and Asians, and some white people. Say half the characters are white. The two main characters are white, of course, and we have to go all the way down to 15, the 15th named character, Tanner, who is a Asian American, I believe, half Japanese. His last name's Hiraga. He has no accent, so that's good. And he is just a regular guy. He's just a regular high school kid. He has a couple lines, but it's real brief. Well, anyway, so according to my rating, it's a D because 15th character, so it's a character in the top 20. And also, there's just very few people of color. Although I love Booksmart, I give it a D. That's my very long explanation. Give us your first movie and do the one that you think I'm referring to, because I gotta know.
I was waiting for this moment. I have no idea. I think, by the way, Professor, I misunderstood my homework instructions because I picked 3 movies that do pass it.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. So
and maybe if you can think off the top. Well, so let me ask you about the movie with Jack Nicholson where he has OCD. And Greg Kinnear plays a gay guy.
Oh, and Helen Hunt.
Is that as good as it gets?
As good as it gets, yeah.
I like that movie.
Because when you said that trope of the gay character, although being treated poorly as a gay person by a straight character, does the gay character basically just forgive the straight bigot? That's
true. That's true.
I have extreme doubts that movie would pass the test. I'm thinking characters, like, I think he's the only gay character in that movie, and I don't think he talks to another gay character. And it's been a while since I've seen it, but I don't think, again, it's all recalling from a very distant memory, but I think his purpose in the story is to serve the betterment of the Jack Nicholson character.
Right.
So I think that would be like the biggest strike against it.
Anyway, so what movie passes your test?
I actually put Beginners, and that's probably, of the 3, I picked Beginners, A Single Man, and Stranger by the Lake, which is the only one of those that isn't an American film. That's a French film. But I'll talk about Beginners because I rewatched it this morning, and I was really, really touched by it. So I saw this movie when it was released in theaters. I believe it was 2011 or 2010. It's a murky time period for me, but it was on my first date with my first boyfriend. I had been with guys before. I knew I was gay, but I wasn't out yet. But that was I had decided, okay, you've spent too long in the closet. You've done too much of the not actually dating guys thing. Let's try and make this real. And it was this electric night, and the movie was amazing. We had gone to see it at the Angelica in Plano, and we had this beautiful walk down by the water, and the fountain was all kinds of colors. We had this amazing kiss. And so the movie is totally tied to a kind of beginning for me, where I had decided to take a leap forward in my young adulthood.
You should make a movie about that night. You should make a movie about that night.
Yeah, I'll get to work on that. It's just a really special film because you wouldn't think at all, if you looked at scenes and clips from the movie, you wouldn't think it's a gay movie. What I mean by that is there's common images that come to mind. You think of shirtless, washboard abs guys doing, and you think of them partying, or usually there's drag queens, and even the music comes to mind. Certain music comes to mind, like Lady Gaga. And certainly I am not saying any LGBTQ people who enjoy those things, represent those things, they're not wrong. But I think that there's a common association with those things. But this is a quiet, nuanced film that's really just about showing the beauty of connection between people, the love between people, and also the love of people and dogs. And it's all this, it's this there's a wonderful storyline about how because it's not a spoiler. I mean, the dad character, how he passes away, and there's time jumps in the movie. You see him a lot of the time alive, but sometimes you see him after he's passed. And the Ewan McGregor character has inherited this dog, and kind of like in Annie Hall, where they put subtitles, to what the people are saying on that balcony, they have subtitles for the dog giving him various looks. And it becomes this thing where the dog starts to cry whenever Ewan McGregor leaves to go somewhere, and the dog has to go with him. And as a huge dog lover myself, I just really connected with that. And I think that what makes it special is that the gay character in the film has no traditional gay attributes. It's played by Christopher Plummer, the late great Christopher Plummer. It's another reason why it was a very emotional watch, because we just lost him. He was a giant in cinema, as film lovers will know. Sound of Music guy, in case anybody needs a quick reference. And he's like very quiet. I wrote a whole list. I won't bore you with it all, but there are so many attributes to this character's personality, and it's not about him coming out. It's about appreciating who he was as a person. And ultimately, that's what I want as a gay man. Characters, not necessarily that they're loved, because like I just watched I Care a Lot about two very ethically questionable lesbians, and I loved it. I'm not saying they have to be good people, but the script has to appreciate that character's presence, and you walk away from Beginners feeling like you've lost Hal because your time with that movie is now over.
Yeah. Beginners is a beautiful movie. I need to rewatch it. I remember really loving it when it first came out. Collin, give us your other two movies real quick.
So A Single Man.
Yeah.
And that was a movie that I saw on a less successful date. Nevertheless, it was, I think it was about a year earlier, and a different Angelica, actually. That was the Dallas one. And I think that A Single Man is wonderful because there is a gay character in it. And I think a lot of people would go, and again, it's not a spoiler, like, the romance is over, one of the gays died, they can't have a happy ending. I know a lot of gay people want happy endings for their character. I totally respect that. That's not me. It's not necessarily what I'm looking for. But you really get a sense of who George is as a person. Once again, what I'm looking for. And it's about him appreciating his life. It's not about him coming out, because he doesn't. He remains closeted through the entire movie. But he realizes that in his grief, and as kind of a connection to his inner turmoil of not being able to come out as gay and be open with his students, he lives his day differently. And so things that he wouldn't have appreciated before, he's appreciating for the first time on a new level. People he's met, his classroom of students, his best friend Charlie, who's played amazingly by Julianne Moore. And this one is based on a book that I read. I have no idea about Beginners. This is a Christopher Isherwood novel. It's beautifully adapted.
Yeah.
And then the last one, Stranger by the Lake, is a French film, and it's extremely different from the first two. So this is about a hookup spot in France where gays meet by the lake and they hook up. Somebody dies. And there's a little bit of, it's not necessarily a mystery, it's an examination of the animalistic style of sexuality. And what I like about the film is that it's about the repression and othering of gay people without it being about the oppression of othering of gay people. It's done in a very symbolic way, where you get the sense that all of these men are like put onto this preserve, like you would put, certain wild cats that don't have a place in society. And you do get the sense of it's a very delicate script, because you could in a worse script make the connection of, oh, well, a gay person kills another gay person, so are we saying that they are animals and they should be put on this preserve? It doesn't go there at all. actually what I think the movie is trying to say is that because society has repressed our ability to express ourselves for so many years, I mean, years and years and years since people have been people, it's been repressed. That we're not one of the guys who isn't gay, who actually is the detective who goes to investigate the crime, says, sometimes I find it strange how you guys love each other. And I know you're like, oh, is that shaming the gay culture? And it's not. He's just saying that it's like, oh yeah, we've created these constructs in which you kind of have to relate to each other in these bizarre ways because we don't accept we don't accept you in traditional society. So yeah, Stranger by the Lake, check it out. Be careful though, because if you don't like seeing bodies, if you're triggered, it's very frank about the human body, and there's a lot of naked people of all shapes and sizes.
Yeah, an interesting point you bring that up, that there's this line between making a movie that otherizes and making a movie about being otherized. When you're in that group, that otherized group, and you're watching the movie, you know the difference. You feel it like, oh, this is actually, sure, there's a depiction of otherizing, but it's sympathetic to the otherized group, or it's told from their perspective. The characters who are otherized are respectfully or fully realized. Berto, give me your 3.
I have a long list, but I can do 3. All right, let's see. Let's pick some. All right, so you mentioned West Side Story, but I was little when that came out. It's also a long time ago. So I'm actually going to go a little more recent than this. But the brief mention there is that Latin culture played a big role in that story, but there were a lot, the main character, Natalie Wood, was a white girl playing a Latin gal. But here are the ones. So number 1, Romancing the Stone.
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
movie I love. I love that
Colombian drug dealer, right?
That's an F.
If you haven't ever seen it, it's Michael Douglas and what's her name?
Kathleen Turner.
Kathleen Turner. Yeah, I was going to say Michelle Pfeiffer. Kathleen Turner. And yeah, it takes place in quote unquote Colombia. And, I was in Colombia at the time. We all went to see it in the theater and we were all like, that's not Colombia. And it's okay. But it's just like, of course, it was about drugs and everything was portrayed and like it's just a sweltering jungle and it's just full of drug dealers. And I love the movie. It's just it does a really bad job of showing the other side of the coin.
Right. The Latino guy is probably not Colombian, right?
No, everyone had was clearly Mexican, which is fine. I mean, like that's how they were able to probably get the movie funded, right? Like it was just a movie that I loved, and all of us that we saw it, we were like, that was awesome. But at the same time, are they making fun of us?
My little mule, Pepe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was not Colombia. No one in it was Colombian. No. All the accents were Mexican.
Yeah, and
everyone was a drug dealer.
And he was violent, and he was a killer, and he was a criminal, and he was of course kind of like a magical Latino because he had the magical solution.
Yeah. Now, were there drug dealers? Yes. Are they? But it all goes down to like, but that's the only thing.
Yeah, right.
All right. So that's one.
Yeah, A+ filmmaking, F for representation.
Yes, exactly. All right. The next one is all right. So this one's a little tricky because again, it's a thing. It's a great series, Narcos. Narcos is again a great series, really good TV series about Pablo Escobar. At least the first 2 seasons. With is Mando in it?
I think so. Isn't it Pedro Pascal?
Yeah.
He's the main. Is he the main guy?
No, he's the friend of the main guy.
The friend.
Well, yeah.
Right, because the main guy, the guy that plays Pablo Escobar, is Brazilian, and so here's the funny thing. My brother grew up in this country, so he didn't learn Spanish when he was little. Yeah. He only learned it as an adult. So he doesn't hear the accent differences very well. Just like I can't tell accents apart very well with other languages, but I can when it comes to Spanish. So he tells me, oh my gosh, I watched it. That guy's amazing. And I watched it, and I had just gotten done watching Pablo Escobar, El Patrón del Mal, which is a Colombian soap opera that's like 9 seasons long, with a guy that basically, once you watch it, it's almost impossible to remember the real Pablo Escobar because this guy did it so well. So I had just seen that, and I start watching this one, and the poor guy, the guy's doing a great job. It's just that he sounds nothing like a Colombian, let alone like Pablo Escobar, like nothing. Now, they did have some in the show that were Colombians and sounded Colombian. And so I was actually happy about that. But the main character was like, oh my gosh, you could have found, in fact, you could have hired the guy that played him in the Colombian one. All right. So love the show. I didn't actually see the second and third seasons, but I think it's a great, very well made show. It's just unfortunate that, first of all, again, glorifying the drugs. And it's almost even worse because that show actually is like, look at these heroic, U.S., drug enforcement people, and look at those drug addicted or, drug.
Right. You could have told the story from a Colombian. You could have told it from the main cop.
So my next movie is another one that I love. Like, it's funny, all these movies I actually love. It's just, and I actually have two, but I'm going to pick one of them. This one is Napoleon Dynamite. I love Napoleon Dynamite. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And in a way, this almost makes it okay because it's just that he's got his little like Latinx friend.
Yeah.
And he's he's like a meek little Latinx friend with a little
vote for Pedro. Yeah.
Vote for Pedro and stuff. And he even has the little funny, almost Cantinflas mustache, which is like Cantinflas is a famous Mexican comedian. When I saw it, look, I love the movie. I think he's funny. I think Pedro's funny. I think the whole thing is funny. It's just a reminder. It's this painful little nab inside my ribs. It's like, that's all you get. That's all you get. That's all you get.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, gosh, darn it. Why can't we have like, that's the exception to the rule. It's like, oh my gosh, that's funny. Cause we know normally Latinx people are normal.
Yeah. What do you think about his follow-up of Nacho Libre?
Oh yeah. So that one's another one. That one's on my list too. It's like, all right, yes, we get that the Mexicans have their wrestling, and then you're the white guy who goes to Mexico, and now you're a wrestler, and it's funny. I didn't think it was quite as funny. It's a funny movie. There's some really funny moments in it, but again, there isn't like the serious movies about I don't know about all these topics.
Right,
I guess
right.
It's really hard because as I was making the list, I actually don't have, in a way, bad things in here. Some of them are shows, like there's Modern Family, but I have Scarface, I have Speedy Gonzalez, I have Family Guy with Consuela. I have all these things. They're all fun. I love all these things. They're funny.
But they don't pass your test.
They don't pass my test. And where are the ones that do? There's so few and far between.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing that I always think about is I spent some time in Mexico City. Well, I guess I'll say I spent time in Bogota as well. When you're in these two major metropolitan areas, you go, oh, Mexico City and Bogota are more similar to Seattle than I think people realize. You have hospitals and office buildings and
hospitals
and museums and corner stores and
restaurants,
kids going to school and buses and Uber drivers and bars. And it's not that different. And where's the movie about Mexicans who go to university? I mean, where's our friend Carlos, drummer that was in our band and then was in my band, Bread Knife Incident. He works at Chrysler. He's an engineer who works at Chrysler in
a Mexican engineer. Well, actually, that almost all my friends from school in Colombia have higher education than I do.
Right.
All of them got the equivalent of PhDs in whatever fields they did.
Right. In cocaine management?
In cocaine management, yes.
Right. Okay, so my last two movies are La La Land, which Berto loves. How many Bertos do you give La La Land?
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't know. I haven't done the Latinx analysis, although it is LA.
Right.
And it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap between you and me, actually.
Yeah. That's
Famous
true.
Asian American actress Emma Stone is in it.
Emma
Yeah.
Stone, Asian American Emma Stone. Look, La La
great.
Land. La La Land is the movie that I love because it won me my prize at your Oscar party because I bet against it.
Yeah. Yeah. So the seventh character listed is Sonoya Mizuno, who is Japanese, Argentinian, British. She's the main character from Devs, by the way.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And she just plays like one of the three women friends of Emma Stone. And she does like dancing, and she's half, but seventh in the lineup. And there's only one other non-white person in the top 10, which is John Legend. So not only is this a movie that takes place in Los Angeles that should have a lot more Asian Americans in the cast, but this is a movie about jazz. And there's one black person in the top 10. So I give it a D because there's a character, but there's not many even in the background.
Right.
And again, Los Angeles people, if this took place in Kansas, fine. But if you're gonna goddamn shoot it in Los Angeles, then make it look like Los Angeles. It'd be like shooting in Los Angeles. It's like when people shoot movies in Seattle, but they're actually in Vancouver, Canada. Just say you're in Vancouver. Just make it Canadian. So anyway, my third movie is Stuber. Has anyone seen Stuber, the movie? Comedy movie?
I do love Kumail Nanjiani. Like Big Sick was my favorite film that year.
Yeah,
but
Big Sick.
I didn't see Stuber.
Have you seen Big Sick, Berto, yet?
Not yet. No.
You have to see it. It is comedy / touching at its best. It is just
Similar to Beginners. It captures life, right? Where it's like funny then sad and both of them together and real characters, real dialogue. Yeah.
Anyway, Stuber, 2019. It takes place in Los Angeles about an Uber driver who picks up a cop trying to catch a killer. And it takes place in current day. So top 3 billed actors, Kumail Nanjiani, who is not East Asian, but is from Asia, Pakistani. We have Dave Bautista, who is half Filipino. Did anyone know that?
I don't think I knew. Well, I mean, I always wondered about the last name, but I didn't know that.
Yeah, Drax from
I know he is, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that race is called, but he's really good at killing aliens.
Yeah. Well, he's half Filipino, no accent, and a character, and he's not super noticeable, right? But half Filipino, and I see him as I'm like, he looks half Asian, and then a Indonesian actor from Indonesia is the third person. So, but he has an accent. So I give this one an A, even though it doesn't really pass it, because I don't know if a lot of people think of Dave. It's the same thing with The Rock. The Rock is Asian. He's Pacific Islander. He's Samoan. I think he's part black. Right? Mm-hmm. But he's also.
I feel like some people transcend race and humanity when they're wrestlers. Like Gustavo, my bestie, he loves wrestling, and so like. He just sees Dave Bautista as like wrestler man, and same with The Rock. Like and when you experience people in that world, like they're gods. And so it was interesting because again, as I mentioned, I see Drax I just called him Drax. I see Bautista as the alien from Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's just so interesting. You're right. Like people have all these different associations.
Yeah. Well, so. That's one of the problems with America and with Americans, with white Americans, is that unless it's super overt, they'll just think of them as like either white or black.
Yeah.
And it's often not the case. Like with Bruno Mars, a lot of people think of him as black, but he's not black. Or maybe he's part black, but he's definitely Filipino. Let me look that up, Bruno Mars.
Oh, that's interesting.
Actually,
in Kirk, I have a question about this actually.
Sorry, Bruno Mars is Puerto Rican and Filipino. To me, Bruno Mars is an Asian American artist. But how many people think of Bruno Mars as an Asian American artist?
Right.
It erases Asian Americans from the face of our society. It's just like you're just erased.
Yeah. I guess my question is, as a mixed race person, what do we say? Like for the people out there that are like, because for me, I just think it's what a person chooses, right? Like as they identify. And but again, I don't want to like speak of my own cis white privilege and be like, oh, it's all of your responsibility. Like I just want to seek to not offend and make sure people are represented how they want to be.
What's your question?
I'm wondering like what if you have a question, if you're not sure, like so for somebody who is mixed race, because like, okay, so my partner, Connor, is mixed race. He's Asian, he's Hispanic, and he's white. And for him, it doesn't, there's always this like pressure that people sort of feel to like get it right or to guess. Both kind of serve to make him feel bad. And so I'm wondering, like, moving forward, like, shouldn't it just be, okay, I'm really in a roundabout way. Hypothetical person wants to find it out. What is like a nice way of finding out so that you don't offend the person?
Well, one, how many white people ask other white people?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So like it doesn't matter, right? Like in terms of it's not your business. Well, it matters.
It matters, but
yeah, it matters.
If every time which is a thing, and Connor knows this too, you come across a white person and they're like, "What are you?" It's just like, fuck,
Oh
like,
yeah, he hates that.
like,
understandably.
it's this complete otherizing question. And you know that they don't walk up to other white people and say, "What are you?" They
Right.
only ask people that they can't figure out. The first 50 times I was asked in my life, I just answered it. But by the 5,000th time, particularly as I got away from other people of color, as I go further into rural areas in America and frankly into Canada, which was one of the worst experiences. I was talking with someone for a long time in Canada, and I'm just entertaining them as they ask me about my ethnicity. And then they're just like, "So who's sponsoring you?" And I'm like, "What do you mean sponsor? What do they even, I don't even know what that means." They're really digging into it. Well, who's sponsored? Because, there's this Japanese woman who lives, and so someone's sponsoring her. And I'm like, "Sponsor? What the hell are you talking about?" And then this other person chimes in and is like, "No, he's probably born in the United States." So this person just figured, because apparently in Canada, or according to this group of people, in order for an Asian to legitimately live in Canada, they have to be sponsored by a white person, essentially a Canadian citizen. Anyway, so one, if you are of privilege and white, and you are curious, it's similar to, what are you supposed to do if you're curious about the way a black person's hair feels? What are you supposed to do about that? How about shut the F up? How about you just keep it to your goddamn self?
Yeah, I think what I was meaning is okay, so for our purposes on the podcast, when you just in this moment were thinking, how does Bruno Mars identify? And I'm thinking like if somebody's like in charge of his social media or like writing an article and they want to know everything, like where he's from, who he is, like the approach, I guess, is just put down everything, like just put that, because that's for what I would think. But then it becomes like, whose business is it there as well?
It's complex and every individual is different. I have my particular thing given my pocket and other people have theirs. There's a lot of different situations. Part of you is like, well, I want to honor that. Maybe it's just like, I want to be sensitive to it. I want to honor it. Okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to ask along those lines. Like, I've had people come to me and they're just like, "So I don't want to be insensitive and I really don't want to be racist, but what is your heritage?" And I'll be like, "Oh, okay." For me, and not everyone that's a person of color is going to react this way. But for me, I'm like, okay, even if it was a really off topic question, I'm like, okay, well, you gave it a shot and you were nice about it. You recognize that you might be stepping in it. And for me, that's okay. And I'm happy to answer. Now, it depends on what their response is to that. If they're just like super focused on the fact that I'm Japanese American, then it's just like, okay, I'm also other things besides Japanese American, right?
Personally, I found that I just kind of keep my guard down when it comes to that stuff, because I've been actually pleasantly surprised a few times where it's like, "Where are you from?" And I could be like, well, I'm from Tacoma. But I know what they're getting at, and it's like, I'm from Colombia, South America. And I had been for a lot of my life expecting like, whoa, like first of all, if I say Colombia, they're like, oh, like from Washington, D.C., right? Like I'm expecting them to think I mean District of Columbia. And that happened to me when I was in high school several times. I'd be like, I'm from Colombia. And then they would be like talking to me about things that it's like, have you been to the monuments? But I'm like, what? What are you talking about? So then I always say, I'm from Colombia, South America, right? And then I had come to expect that, oh, whoa, that kind of thing. Is your Uncle Pablo? That used to happen all the time in high school as well. But over the years, I started noticing, I don't know if people started getting more cosmopolitan or more traveled or whatever, because I would get like, oh, my wife is Colombian, or, oh yeah, I live with a Colombian, or, oh, I just got back from Colombia. And every time I'm always like, oh, really? Oh, okay. So it's not like this weird thing to you. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, you came to the United States at the height of
the worst time, man.
Of the cocaine criminal association. Yeah. And there's a like Collin, do you associate Colombia with cocaine and crime?
No, but it's only because I think this is another part of the problem. I don't have much association with it at all because we don't get a lot of.
Yeah, but that's different. So if you grew up in our generation, you could not avoid it. George H.W. Bush talked about it all the time. It was all about the Pablo Escobar and
the Colombians. By the way, to me, that's a little bit like almost like saying, I mean, I'm sure this might sound offensive, but let me just try to say it. Imagine you're like, oh, I'm from Africa, from let's say I'm from Nigeria or something. And I go, oh, that's the place with all that sent all those slaves or something like this. Like, like you're blaming the people that were actually victims of this thing for something, and you're acting annoyed about it because it's like, oh, Colombia. Yeah, that's the country we are buying drugs from, and we are keeping drugs illegal so that they are in misery and in poverty. And they no one ever kind of brought that up.
So what's the final word, Collin and Berto? Collin, give us your final word.
I think that intention it really, all of it comes down to intention. And I would attach that with movies as well. I think that you kind of hit it right on the head, Kirk, when you said you can tell like an othering script, you can tell when it's othered from a mile away if you are that othered group. And the goal really is, I'm gonna Berto stan for a little bit. I also think the goal is that we get to a place where, people of any race can be any kind of job, and it's not this revolutionary thing. We have a long way to go. He's right about the system. And I think that, to kind of explain sort of the last little tail end of what I was just talking about, I think that people of all races are seeking to simultaneously like not other people because of their race or sexuality or religion. And then they're also trying to really celebrate the individuality of what all of those things mean. And I think I'm just curious. I want to see, like, moving forward, how we can merge the two, how we're not othered and yet we can celebrate all of the things that our culture before and our individuality and present make us who we are. So that's kind of where I was sort of curious.
Yeah.
Final word for me is I'm always having to make this mental decision of it's okay to enjoy movies that make me into a caricature, but I want it to change.
Mm-hmm. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself. Develop your own Bechdel tests and let us know what they are, because I would be curious. Email us, go to Psychology Seattle, click on the contact page, and maybe maybe a few movies that pass or don't pass your test, and maybe we'll make another episode out of that. That'd be kind of fun, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know, various different, Italian Americans that they're not mobsters and
Right.
they don't talk like stereotypical Goombas,
Not always Mario.
Yeah, like I just had a moment where I was thinking about show and I was like, she could do one for like Jewish women. But then I had that moment where I'm like, well, I don't really know. I can't be sure. So I'd have to double check with her and see if she is. So
Right. So maybe we can make another episode where we talk about the listeners' blank Dell tests. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because
You deserve it.
and it's okay to be gay.